Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor. And on this week's show, we're going to be looking at the best of the action at Chester, of course, all live on Sky Sports Racing. But we're also going to be having a look at Sandown, as well as some ante-post plays ahead of some of the big races into the autumn. Joining me back in the studio, Sam Boswell. Sam, great to have you back in one piece.
Nice to be back and managed to somehow find a couple of winners last week, so it's even better.
Yeah, exactly. You really did have a stellar time of things last weekend, so we know the magic trick then for Sam to get him to perform at his best deck.
I was very close to going to Popper last night to try and get a couple of winners to see if the system of Sam's worked, but alas, I was in bed by about 9, so we'll see if that works instead.
We'll see if it works. If not, we know next weekend's going to be an absolute write-off.
Yeah, look, I think we should potentially think about doing a show from Popworld. I don't know.
Oh, there you go, on location.
Co-sponsored maybe at some point.
Yeah, surely by now you deserve a sponsorship in Popworld.
Well, we should probably say, please drink responsibly and gamble responsibly.
And gamble responsibly, all of the above, please. Our tips are not guaranteed to win, and they're not guaranteed to be better if we've been in Popworld the night before either. But we'll let Sam forget that for now. We've given him enough stick about it from last week, but a lot of fun had by all. Right then, we're going to begin at Sandown with the 225. Now, this is the Group 3 Atalanta Stakes. Fillies and mares, 3-year odds and over 1 mile. Tamfana, a short price favourite, down in grade here, even money deck. So does that interest you or not?
No, it doesn't. I'm more than happy to see Tamfana win at that kind of price. She's coming here off a small break. She's also taking a big drop in trip as well. I think on form, but what we've seen so far this season, she's definitely the best filly in the lineup, but absolutely no chance. I think you'll get much better even money shots than her. And I'm with the second in the market there, Doha, who I think is a good price at 7-1. I thought maybe 5-1, 9-2 would have been a fairer reflection of her chance. And look, she's coming here on the back of a career best. She's had a brilliant 2024. I think she started the season rated 82, and she now sits on 105. She bagged a Royal Ascot winner and all here, as we can see her winning the Kensington Palace race at Royal Ascot. This is her in the red cap, closest to the screen under Hector Crouch, and you know, she had a good setup this day, but she won really well. And even since then, she's gone on to Pontefract and she's gone on to Goodwood, and she's even taken her form to a higher level. She comes here on the back of a career best in the Nassau, and it was even a career best, lads, when I think she didn't stay the trip fully, which is really interesting given her pedigree. But she's by Sea the Star. She's out of that brilliant arc winner, Trev. And on pedigree, you would have suspected she'd stay 12 furlongs. But on the visuals and on her striding analysis, it looks like she's a miler. She's dropping back to a mile here, and I am with her.
Convincing case to start, 7-1. I loved watching that Ascot VT back because of the tracks from the carriages and how many jockeys target that for the flattened out ground as well. Yeah. But probably didn't make that much of a difference to her anyway, but she's a nice 7-1 chance. Rixie getting off to a convincing start, Sam.
Yeah, it's so convincing that I'm in complete agreement. He's not left me a lot to say. Tamfara, for me, let's just touch on the favourite to start with. Even money, I just can let her win at that price and play something each way, and I thought Doha was the most convincing angle to take there. I really respect David Minicio's horse here, but I have a couple of question marks. One would be the ground. I know that the 1,000 Guineas effort, where she was a bit unlucky, definitely came in ground that was fairly good and similar to today. But you look at all her other pieces of form, they've all come on sort of, all right, it's French softer ground, but it's definitely going to be easier ground than she'll encounter at Sandown. And I just felt even money was short enough. I think she may drift and you might get a slightly bigger price. For all David's got his team in fine form, and I fancy one of his later on that we'll talk about, I wanted to park that. And yeah, Dex made a really good case for Doha, and I can't really add a lot more other than I thought that Nassau effort was very strong. You know, and I don't think the trip would have suited. I do think the drop to the mile is definitely going to be back up her street.
And the form was franked by our Napco and Ian last week, because he the fire ran in the Nassau and she won at York.
Nicely done. You two in complete tandem then on this
Dumb
one.
and Dumber are back again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bolstering each other's claims then as well. Doha at 7-1, second in. So it only seems right that I should take the lads on then. Even money is as short as I would want to go on Tamfana, but when she opened up before Dex at about 5-4, I thought anything that I can get odds against, I will be taking all day long. So I hope Tamfana drifts that little bit. But of course, as we said, this is a drop down in grade for her into Group 3. Prix. Also, now she's taking on her own sex as well after 4 cracking efforts this season, including this run last time out. Now, this was in the Group 1 Grand Prix de Paris over a mile 4. For 3-year-old colts and fillies, she was the only filly in the lineup, though, and she just ran out of stamina in the closing stages here over the mile 4. So you expected to see her dropping back in trip last time out. Perhaps that was going to be for the Nassau, but that probably just came too soon. She's still a live Prix de l'Opera candidate, yet she's being asked to go and win a Group 3 at Sandown. So if I can get any odds against about her, I'll be taking that all day long. I don't doubt her resolve to get the job done, which I thought might be a stone people might try and throw at her, but I haven't actually seen that bounded about too much. So, yeah, Tamfana, play it safe then for me. Favourite in our opener anyway, but the lads very much then with Doha. Let us know in the comment section below who you fancy for that Group 3 contest. Now we're going to move on to another Group 3 for 3:35 at Sandown. This is the Solario Stakes. 2-year-olds over 7 furlongs. Now the Gosden Yard, they've won this 6 times, notably with Ravens Pass, Kingman, Too Darn Hot. John and Thady have the favourite here in Field of Gold. So, Sam, 7-4 market leader. Interest you?
Yeah, really does. This is a good little race, and I think for whatever reason, this card at Sandown sometimes gets a little bit overlooked, but you reeled off some of the names that the Gosden team have won this with in the past. Must remember the most recent winner is currently winning novice hurdles round Worcester at the moment, which just probably shows you could either end up like Kingman or you could end up going...
Nothing's guaranteed in this game.
Nothing is guaranteed. But let's talk about Kingman, because Field of Gold, obviously by Kingman, and heads to betting. The 2 runs we've seen of this horse so far, the first one at Doncaster went 3rd of 6. You've got to just put a line through it. It got really upset at the start, didn't come out the stalls particularly well, and in spite of that, still managed to finish, I thought, quite nicely. We then go on to Newmarket on the July course, and in a fairly, I thought, deep-looking race for that kind of contest, wins really nicely. There's plenty to come from this horse, and I think the comments from Kieran Schumacher, were pretty positive after the win, and I just think there's enough that we'll see this horse progress once again. And don't get me wrong, I think this is a strong field. I wouldn't want to take any shorter, but I do feel like this is a race that clearly the team target in the past and have had good success, and hopefully we could see another superstar potentially unleashed. Yeah,
and he is going to need to improve again, isn't he? But as are all of these horses from either what they've shown so far or from their sole start. But yeah, Field of Gold, though, 7-4 for Sam. Deck, you daren't be in agreement yet again.
Yeah,
with
Sam and I are singing from the same hymn sheet this week. Yeah, I was also with Field of Gold. I agree with Sam. 7-4 is probably as short as I'd like to take, given Royal Playwright and Maturi Bay were very impressive in their respective wins last time out. But I was just hoping experience would count for plenty here. Obviously the second favourite and the third favourite taking a nice jump up in class after one run, but we can sometimes see even with these nice 2-year-olds they can get a little bit lost on their second start, and I think here with Tiger Mask in here they'll probably go a nice even gallop up front, and I'm just hoping the experience of the Gosden horse can come to the fore, because he's had 2 runs, as we saw there at Doncaster. He was quite green off the bridle, but when he went to Newmarket he was just the complete professional. He doesn't wear a cross noseband. Everything about him suggests he's straightforward, and I just loved how he carried Kieran Schumacher through the race that day. Now, it wasn't a strong gallop and it kind of built, but he just carried Kieran everywhere. And what I really loved for a 2-year-old is he hit the hill at the July course well, because he's going to face a similar hill here at Sandown, probably even a stiffer test, and hoping the experience will come to fruition here, given the Gosden's good record in the race, which you referenced at the start of the preview.
It's just far too much agreement here between you two. It's either going to be a brilliant weekend then for the show or terrible now with you two in agreement. I'm hoping it's going to be terrible on their part, because they're going to take them on yet again here. Maturi Bay at 5-1 for me. Now, this race, of course, trying side of experience where I possibly can is usually my angle. But then I wasn't overly sure about Field of Gold. Even on that second start, I knew he took a big step forwards, but I thought, perhaps he might grow into being a top-level handicapper rather than a group performer in time then. So I just wasn't totally blown away with him. And then I know it's an ask for Maturi Bay to be reaching the marks of the likes of Tiger Mask in here or an Outlaw's Grace, but clearly has the scope to do so, to bridge that gap somewhat. And Royal Playwright, who's 5-2 second in here, his form has not worked out well from his debut success, for all that we expect horses from that yard to take a big step forwards. But Rafe Beckett, Valmont Silks, always a combination I like, and that is the case with Maturi Bay. Won on debut at Leicester. Now, he cost 500,000 guineas prior to that debut. He's got that impeccable pedigree as well. Brother to the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf winner Aunt Pearl. Clearly enough expectation on his shoulders, and he stayed on really well over the 7 furlongs that day. So any further stamina tests up to a mile will be no issue then for Maturi Bay. So he is going to be the play for me at 5-1. Vlad's in agreement yet again, though, with Field of Gold. Again, let us know in the comment section who you fancy of those 2-year-olds. Now, before we move on to our next race, if you are enjoying the show, and we always hope that you are, reminder to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Right. We're heading up to Chester now. Really a good card, of course, live on Sky Sports Racing on Saturday. Now, we're going to go to the 3:15, the listed Chester Stakes. 3-year-olds and over a mile 6. This is a tricky old race, this. So I'm going to kick us off then with this one. Caius Chorister is heading the way. Now, as you both know from our WhatsApp group, I had to come back to this a few hours later because it was such a nightmare of a contest. But the way that I've solved it, and I have to give full credit to my friend and colleague Andrew Mount, because he put some meat on the bones for this race for me. Now, he said this race has been a front runner's benefit. 5 of the last 10 winners made all. Back all front runners, and you'll make a profit of £18.88. So, thank you, Mr. Mount, for those stats. Trying to find the front runner, though. No easy thing whatsoever. I'm hoping it's going to be Caius Chorister, though, that does, out of stall 3. Now, on figure, she is the best horse in the race, so hopefully James Thor just keeps it very straightforward, lets her blast on and use that ability that she has. And if she does get into a bit of a battle, that's my only real concern, because in the Gold Cup at Ascot, which we're going to see here, the run down the hill into Swinley Bottom, she absolutely took off this day in the hands of Benoit de I say it, just way too keen over the 2-mile 4. She was never, ever going to be getting home over that. So she actually ran quite well, all things considered. But just look at her at this point. There is no way you can fight a horse doing this.
Love and life.
You've got nowhere to go, have you?
Let me run.
Oh, just look, I feel bad that I picked out this section, but it was mainly to highlight the fact that I hope she just is allowed to bowl on. Now, the run down the hill here at Ascot, we know can catch horses out. Chester's really good for keen-going horses, though, because they're constantly on the turn. It almost distracts them from pulling, so they have their eye taken off of it. I'm hoping that's going to suit her. And, Dec, we're not going to see this from her.
No, exactly. No, I suspect that's what Sam was like in Popper last week.
Here we go.
Absolutely.
We thought we had it exhausted. No, we did not.
But yeah, I think you're spot on about Chester will probably suit her because they're constantly on the turn there. And her last run in the Lily Langtree, to be fair to her, she does have that kind of buzzy head and buzzy nature about her. But she can prick her ears out in front and just kind of settle herself down. I think, as well, when you pull that hard in a Group 1 against horses like Kyprios over that kind of trip, you're just not going to get home. And, she actually had a really tough assignment earlier in the season in the Sagaro and the Henry II because of the race that she won last year. I think it was in France. She had to carry a penalty against the likes of Coltrane and some of those really good horses like Sweet William as well. That penalty is gone here, and the conditions of this race mean where normally a mare would get £3, she's actually getting £5 from this field. So I think the race sets up really well from her. I think on official ratings anyway she's the best horse, and then they've got to give her a weight, so it looks a good opportunity for her. But I was a little bit disappointing with her in the Lily Langtree. Maybe she didn't finish out as well. But I hope she'll take a step forward because the David Menissier team are in good order at the moment.
Yeah, and she just deserves to get her head in front, Sam. So Dec and I now in agreement. So again, are you two going to agree once more?
Well, you've left me absolutely nothing to say, have you? Because I quite like the favourite as well. David Menissier in good form. I think you've both made very obvious cases. One thing I would say about this race, thank goodness for the Irish, because with the 3 Irish runners in here, it bulks out the field quite nicely and does give us, I thought 9-4 was a fair price, just looking through things, but probably a sign of the times that we've got Willie and Gordon having to send runners in here to bulk the field out. But she just, for me, I felt like you made a good point, Dec, with the fact that she's obviously in receipt of that weight, and I really like her chances here. And this is an easier assignment than what she's had to do for the rest of the season, isn't it, really? And, you look at that Ascot Gold Cup, obviously Volborn's come out of that and won since, and I felt like it's just a bit of an obvious 9-4 shot, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought softer ground would suit her as well. I think as ever on this show, we don't really know what the ground is going to be like.
Have we ever had an idea what the ground's
So I
going to
think
do?
the ground is good to soften places at Chester. I just think a slightly easier surface will help her, because one, it'll bring her stamina into play, and two, I always think she is susceptible to a horse with gears, so it'll just kind of hopefully slow everything down for James Doyle, who's going to take the ride.
Right, I think we've covered the case then for Kaios Chorister and No End then, the 9-4 favourite. Hopefully she will just win, go to the front in my case, and prove her ability then up at Chester. Again, do let us know in the comment section who you like for that contest. Right, it's time to head over to the sofa to give you our ante-post plays as well as our best bets for the weekend. Now, before we give you our best bets for this weekend, we're going to look ahead to some of the big autumn races. There's some ante-post plays. So, Sam, what took your eye?
Oh, I love this time of year, Kate. You know, we start to head towards the autumn and the international racing all around the world, the flat races really come alive. And for me, there's none better than Arc Weekend in Paris.
Yes.
Absolutely love a trip to Longchamp. If you've never been before, highly recommend it.
Are you going this year?
I'm going to try and get myself there.
And if you can't go, what channel is it on?
Sky Sports Racing, of course, live, Deck. Yeah,
Beautifully played.
We've also kind of looked at the field this year, and Deck and I were talking off air, and we kind of went, is it lacking a little bit of stardust this year? I think there's a star waiting to happen in Opera Singer. I thought the win at Goodwood last time out really cemented the fact that Ryan Moore, A, is a world-class jockey, but B, she had a real strength of character in that race. She looked tough, you know, and just really dictated. And I thought it was fascinating. I went back onto your website, Deck, very excellent website.
Which is?
Yeah, the Races website, and found some quotes. This was some really good quotes, actually. If you go back from the Marcel Boussac win last year, where Ryan Moore apparently after that was saying, this is your Arc filly for next year, which is amazing, because when you look at the profile of what she'd achieved at that point, I don't think she screamed Arc to me anyway. But since then, this season, they've been very persistent that that's the route they're going to take. Get all the allowances as well as a 3-year-old filly. And she's just an absolute star. And I think she's just got better as the year's gone on. Intriguingly, I was sat here assuming I'd need a dry autumn for her to be seen at her best. That would be a concern, I suppose, the ground. But, you know, Aidan O'Brien's on the record of saying actually he doesn't think the ground's like as important to her. For me, going up in trip, I think I'd like to see her on a sounder surface. But there's so much to like about her. I felt like this was a year where they'll perhaps take the favourite out, there's not too much going for you. And I also think with the boost being win only, she's a bit of a win or bust for me here. I wouldn't want to play her each way. I think she's either going to hose up or I don't think it's going to suit, and I'll be completely wrong. It's
kind of developed in that kind of race ante-post, because obviously last year we got a firmer surface, but before that we had like heavy ground that you'd see at Foss last year. You just don't know what you're going to get that time of year anymore.
No, you really don't. Like you say, in recent years, we were expecting the rain to really come down then and to get the softer ground as well. And then last year it was sod's law, wasn't it? A few horses avoided the Arc because they thought it was going to be deep ground. And then we got a quick surface in the end. So Opera Singer, that will suit her. And then as Sam was saying, that these ante-post plays are going to be boosted. So Opera Singer for Sam, 8-1 to 10-1 then for the Arc de Triomphe, of course, with that win play on the boost, as Sam was saying, though. It's the way that he's going to utilise that and what is on offer. Deck, what are we boosting for you?
Yes, well, the race I'm going to cover is markedly down in trip. It's over 6 furlongs, and I think it's next weekend. It is the Haydock Sprint Cup, and I am really looking forward to seeing Elite Status back out. He's a horse who missed Royal Ascot at the start of the season, but in his 2 runs this year, he showed he's a seriously progressive horse. He's won twice at Newbury in the Carnarvon Stakes and the Hackwood Stakes, and this is him winning the Hackwood there not too long ago at Newbury on Sky Sports Racing. You can see him there just being pumped away by Clifford Lee, but I do think he's a horse. He's a little bit sleepy. Even though he's a sprinter, he saves an awful lot for himself, and what I love here now is once he gets to the front, you watch him half cocking his ear. I think this horse is saving so much for himself. And the other thing I'd mention as well, after his 2 wins at Newbury this year, Carl Burke has kind of stressed that, you know, he was taking a good blow after both races. He hasn't got anywhere near to this horse fully fit and tuned up to show his best, because basically he's had a little bit of an issue just how he gallops. He's knocked himself, and that's, I think, why he missed Royal Ascot. So it just means when he's knocked himself, they've had to take him whack. They can't get the work into him they want. But it's a testament to his natural ability that he's winning those races in such kind of authority, given he hasn't been fully fully fit. So I'm hoping Carl and his team have had a good run since Newbury to Haydock next week. If the ground comes up quick or good, I think he'll take a bit of beating. I really like him. I just get the feeling there's a lot more to come. He hasn't run at Haydock before, but he clearly loves Newbury, and they're basically the same track, just in a different part of the country.
Yeah, very much so, and with different sort of microclimates as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, elite status with so much more to come, then just hopefully he can avoid just keeping knocking himself. But that boost, so 6-1, 15-2. You're always opinionated. You pleased about that?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I might even have to avail of that one myself.
You know the only thing you missed out, previous winning nap for myself on the show deck. But apart from that, I'll let you off. Very good analysis.
No.
Otherwise, you two have teed each other up to suspiciously good effect then so far. But I'm going to leave them then with that one, because the obvious one then for me for the ante-post play looking ahead to the autumn is going to be Kyprios in the Long Distance Cup Champions Day at Ascot, live on Sky Sports Racing. There you go. I think we've covered all of the company ticks, haven't we? But Kyprios, though, for me, now again, we're going to look back at him in the Gold Cup. We were looking at this race earlier on, of course, winning this. Now, I don't think that Kyprios is going to, well, he's just not going to get it wrong again against Trawlerman. He didn't on this day. Of course, he was beaten by Trawlerman in the Long Distance Cup last year, but Rymor, rarely does he have a ride that he would probably want back again. That one would probably be in a tiny minority of rides he'd want back. Frankie Dettori on Trawlerman just rode an absolute blinder. But for all that Kyprios this year, we weren't entirely sure where we were with him at the start of the year, but he's gone 4 from 4. He was only winning those first few starts by narrow margins despite short prices. And because, you know, he had that illness, he almost died. Yeah. So to get him back, we weren't entirely sure how much ability he still had. I think in the last 2 runs, he's proved just how much ability he has. So I have no sort of doubts. I don't think that they'll want to get it in any way wrong this year, going to the Long Distance Cup, and want him to sign off then at least this campaign with another win. So Kyprios then for me, and again another one that is being boosted 5-4 to 6-4. The main reason I wanted to side with him was basically because of the boost as much as anything else. Make sure then to head to the BetVictor website with the micro site then of weekend winners, or the QR code to utilise the boosts even that you can see on screen. Right. Best bet time. Dec, you're kicking us off this weekend.
Yes. What have we covered? Yeah, the next best we've covered, but the nap and the long shot we haven't. I'm going to go to the Curragh on Saturday in the Snow Fairy Stakes, and it's going to be the Johnny Murtagh trained Godolphin, Aga Khan owned Hanalia for me at the Curragh. If you remember correctly, I put her up for the Oaks under the guise of that she was overpriced on ability, but I was really worried about the trip. She's taken a big drop in trip here to 9 furlongs at the Curragh on Saturday, and I think that's really going to suit her. She's a filly with an awful lot of pace, an awful lot of class, and I just can't get out of my head how impressive she was coming from an awful position to win the Oaks trial at Naas. 2 starts back. Hoping the drop in trip will get her home. The next best is going to be Doha at Sandown on Saturday. We've already discussed her. I think Tarfana makes the market there for a really good bet. This filly is by Sea the Stars out of Trev. She's only starting to hit her straps now. She's improved with every run this season, and I'm hoping that improvement will continue here, given she didn't stay the 12 furlongs in the Nassau Stakes with the 8 furlongs here at Sandown. The drop and trip going to help her. And then live on Sky Sports Racing on Saturday is Chester, obviously, and too tempting is going to be the long shot play for me. I think he's still rated 95. That looks still a fair mark. Comes here off a luckless run like so many horses at Goodwood in the Golden Mile, but he's clearly likes it around the likes of Epsom and those kind of tricky, quirky tracks. I hasn't run at Chester yet, but I think it's a track that he'll take to. Rob Hornby takes the ride, and at a double figure price, 14-1, I still thought he had the ability to win this race.
Oh, Chester, it's just like Epsom, but in a different part of the country with its own microclimate. There you go. And well done again then for appeasing the bosses. Appreciate that a lot from Dec for his best bets. Sam, you're up.
Yeah, covered my nap and my next best, but we'll just reiterate them because I think they've both got great chances this weekend. Fingers crossed, had a decent run with the naps recently. The next best, not so much, but the naps have been flying. Field of Gold for me, I'm really, really hopeful that he can continue to do a good job for John Gosden's record in the Solario. I think 7-4 is a fair price. I wouldn't want to take anything shorter, but I'm going to say that that's going to be my nap for the weekend. Fingers crossed that Roll of Honour can continue and this Son of Kingman will impress. Keys Chorister at the 3:15. Again, we're all in agreement here. I thought 9-4 is very, very fair about her chances. I think at the weight she should be going well. And then finally my long shot, which I really struggled to find a long shot this week, but then I went and found a course specialist at Chester, which makes perfect sense. Deck's horse in the 240 needs to find out if it likes Chester. Mine definitely does, in Arevich, who's 4-time winner at Chester, third in the race last year off, I think, £4 higher, runs here off a mark of 91. Looked a really fair each way play.
Yeah, they don't come more Chester than Revich, to be fair, do they?
Oh, I don't know, Boardman would have something to say about that.
Oh, we'll leave Boardman, bless him, out of this, actually. Yeah, that's a very good
I think he might be in the same race, actually, is he?
Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. Right, Chester Specialist to the 4, then. Which one will prevail? But like that a lot, then, for your long shot. Right. Now, my own best bets, my nap, kind of an unoriginal one, really. Tamfana is going to be in the Group 3 Atalanta Stakes. Just hopefully this can be a golden opportunity for her to get her confidence back in terms of getting her head in front, a much easier assignment than she's already faced this year. Even money, though, then for her, but back against her own sex. She's just a class above her rivals. Now, next best in the 240 at Chester. Now, I'm going double-handed in the 240 at Chester. I did a fair amount of work on this race, so really hoping these horses now come to the 4. 7.5 furlong handicap, boasts a big field of runners. And Yennefer, then, for me, is going to be the main play. Ticks an awful lot of trend boxes, apart from the fact he won last time out. Isn't such a plus, but at least it clearly shows that he comes here in good form with that win, coming over 7 furlongs at Chester. And the other one in the race, I'm dutching the pair, Gorak, then at 22-1. Again, because of the trends, he was second in line for ticking most of the boxes then. I just hope he doesn't go forwards and try and blast out from his draw. That's my biggest concern. But this is a lot easier contest for him to be facing rather than some of the races he's already been running in, such as the Buckingham Palace Stakes at Royal Ascot, the Bunbury Cup, and last time out he ran a solid race at Epsom. Right, that's everything from us on this week's show. So a big thank you to Deck and Sam for all of their hard work, for all of the company mentions as well. We're definitely in the good books with the big bosses, hopefully, this week. A bigger thank you to you at home for watching. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. We'll be back at the same time next week with the pick of the action, even from Haydock and Ascot.